What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another late night in the BrewLab with me, Lone Fox, your brewmaster in chief. And tonight in the BrewLab, I'm coming at you with another episode of Spoiler Talk. For those of you who missed my community post on the channel, I've just decided to take a couple of days break from fresh brews because tomorrow is the DGen Open that I've signed up for. I've finally submitted my deck list. Thank you so much to all of you who, voted in the poll. It does seem as though what I was initially going for myself is kind of what everybody voted on, so it was very nice to get that confirmation back from my community. So once again, thank you. It does look as though we are going to be playing some Esper Walkers / mid-range, and I've been tinkering the final list the entire day, practicing my ass off. I've got one extra March of Otherworldly Light here, one less duress there, like just fiddling with numbers and getting it to exactly where I wanted. And it's starting to feel really, really strong, and I'm starting to feel really, practiced with it. And yeah, looking forward to playing. There's only about 15 hours left to go, so I'm a little bit nervous, but at the same time, I'm extremely excited to play some competitive Magic. It's been a little while. But anyway, I'm rambling. We're here for some spoilers. As usual, due to time zones and things like that, a couple of cards more were spoiled from yesterday. We ended off yesterday over here with the Grizzly Sigil, and 4 more new ones came out, and then it being a weekend, not too many came out for the April 9th, only about 8 cards. We'll do the usual and do a little refresh before I sign out. There might be a couple more between now and then. But let's just jump right into it, shall we? We've got a new card that I just... Oh my goodness. Did they have to give Mill like a crazy new toy every single set? I guess they do. This alongside Tasha's Hideous Laughter is just like pretty disgusting. Fortunately, it's quite expensive, but the Izzet shell that Tasha's is already in can easily just change a couple of cards around and put in more, treasure generating cards and get to 6 mana without a problem. Already the Tasha's Hideous Laughter combo happens on turn 5, where they just need like 2 red mana and 3 blue mana, and you do a Galvanic iteration into a double Tasha's, and that, if that doesn't win you the game, then the next turn you just play an additional land and cast this thing. And if you have maybe a Rune Crab on the battlefield that is now a little bit useless, because usually by like turn 6 the opponent's creatures are bigger than the 3 toughness that the Rune Crab can block, then you can just sacrifice... Oh wait, no, you can't. Haha! I keep forgetting this. Casualty 2. So the creature that you sacrifice needs to be with power 2 or greater. So we might need to figure out a way to build around a little bit, like include some sort of creatures in the mill deck if you want to copy the spell, but perhaps it's not entirely necessary. So the target player mills half their library rounded down. I don't know, it's actually the type of thing that you'd probably want to hit before your Tasha's combo. So you hit them with a few what's it called, the Cacophony, the kicker spell first, and maybe a Tasha's goes in the yard, and then eventually you get to cut your losses, and you can get the opponent to mill 3/4 of their library, essentially, if you can get off the casualty cost as well. Quite disgusting. Probably alongside Xander, which is way down here, but let's just quickly have a look at him again, because it's been a while. Xander was spoilt a long while back, and we might have forgotten just a little bit. So I'm just going to exit this full screen, actually. Xander the Collector, Lord Xander the Collector, 4 colorless, and UBR, blue, black, red. The guy enters the battlefield and has the opponent discard half the cards in their hand, rounded down. And whenever he attacks, defending player mills half their library, rounded down. And then whenever he dies, the opponent sacrifices half the non-land permanents they control, rounded down. So clearly this is intended to go together. I have a feeling that there'll be some sort of Grixis combo control deck, perhaps featuring a few copies of Invoke Despair as well. We put up the Galvanic Despair video twice last month. It was that good with just a few edits. I did a couple versions. So, you know, it's just waiting for the new Triland and perhaps a nice big top end like this instead of, you know, in that version I had Jin Gitaxias. Maybe we could have one copy of each, maybe like one Jin, one Lord Xander or something like that, and then just put in some of this silly card that I just read up here in as well, and Galvanic Iterations and the usual stuff, and then could make a really sickening combo control deck that like is trying to either mill you out or do all kinds of crazy stuff with Galvanic Iteration. And, you know, at that point you wouldn't have to use the casualty. You just Galvanic Iteration, you'll cut the losses. Sure, you'd need like 8 mana to do so, but that's kind of neither here nor there in that deck. We are trying to do a lot of stuff like much later in the game and trying to ramp there with our treasures and things, and there's plenty of new stuff that's going to help us to do that as well in the new set. So Grixis is looking scary, or, you know, Maestros is looking scary AF. But anyway, on to the next card. We've got a common here for 6 mana. Sorcery, also has Casualty 2. And, you know, you create 2 potentially 4/3 Black Ogre Warrior creature tokens. It's a little bit overcosted. It's probably why it's common. But, you know, in limited, I think that's going to be quite a bomb if you can get it to go off. Getting a couple of these little 4/3s is going to be fantastic. I wonder if we get to see the token. No comments either. Man, no one's too excited about this guy. All right, next up we got a couple of rogues, and it's a little bit scary. It does appear as though rogues are getting like quite. I wasn't expecting this. I you know, usually I try and come at you with first impressions, and I steer clear from social media, so I don't get to see lots of these. But one of my favorite content creators had this as his spoiler card, and when I read it, I was like, oh no, here we go again, roguies, and there's more than one, and there's already quite a few decent ones in standard as is, that when all put together wasn't making as good a rogue deck as we had before rotation. But slowly but surely, like, some few bits and pieces have been creeping in. So first of all, we've got Fairy Vandal, 2 mana, 1/2 with flash and flying Fairy Rogue. And then whenever you draw your second card each turn, you put a +1/+1 counter on Fairy Vandal. We had this card already in standard a little while back, actually. It's a reprint, if I'm not mistaken. And if it wasn't named exactly the same thing, yeah, here we go. It was named exactly the same things with the exact same text box. I just remembered the text box. They've just printed a different art on it. So pretty cool. There's going to be plenty of ways of drawing an additional card every turn, and then you just grow your little Fairy Vandal, and it's nice that it's got flash and very cheaply statted and everything, so you can get it in pretty early, and might be pretty nice also with some ninja shenanigans, ninjutsu and what have you. I hope it doesn't become a real force to be reckoned with again, because it's definitely not the type of thing I like to play against if it gets good. That I still have PTSD from that standard. And next up, you know, fitting right into that is the Snooping Newsy. This is a really nice one, even though it's common. When it enters the battlefield, you mill 2 cards. But then as long as there are 5 or more mana values among cards in your graveyard, Snooping Newsy gets +1/+1 and has lifelink. So, pretty nice, you know. And then at some point you can, you know, if you want those things in your graveyard, you could start bringing them back. And there's cards that allow you to cast your stuff from your graveyard again. Down here, Dominio of dos Maestros. So, you know, interesting. Some rogues getting some love. And there's another one over here in Italian, which we'll get to in a second. I find it hilarious. If any of my viewers are also Italian, the fact that rogues are farabutto in Italian is just, because I've only ever played Magic in English. But of course I'm a dual lingual. And reading some of these cards in Italian is just hilarious to me. But anyway, next up, we've got a sorcery. it looks like a bunch of uncommons today, and just with a couple of rares. Rob the Archives. So this is another one of the Maestros cards with a casualty. We're getting a lot of the Maestro stuff lately. Rob the Archives. You may exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn. So just another one of these reckless impulse type cards where you get to, get a little bit of extra card advantage. The problem with these cards always is, especially, it's in red all the time. They don't necessarily run an excessive amount of mana, and the reason why I prefer Reckless Impulse is because it's I call it the mini Showdown of the Scalds, because it allows you to cast those spells until the end of your following turn, so you can then untap and you'll have mana to do it. Whereas with this, you've already paid 2 to cast it, and say you do the copy thing with the casualty and you get to exile the top 4 cards of your library, then you'd exile one of your 6 drops or something, like your main game-ending card that you've only got a couple of in your deck or whatever, and you just don't have the mana to cast it, and then it just ends up in exile, and you can't even reanimate it or anything like that. So I'm never a huge fan of this effect, but let's see. It's uncommon. It might end up. There's cards that have something to do with casting stuff in your exile and stuff, if I remember correctly. So who knows? But next up, we got a Rogue in white, which is insane, especially for party decks. I don't think there's a single white rogue in standard right now. So maybe a little bit of support for rogues. There literally is not a single white rogue. It's every color has one of the party members that they don't really have. There's no warriors in black. There's no wizards in whatever. You get what I'm saying. So the fact that we got a cat rogue in white is quite interesting to me. But whenever Mage's Attendant enters the battlefield, you create a 1/1 blue wizard creature token with pay 1 colorless, sacrifice this creature, and counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 1. That is so cool, man. That is really, really cool little effect. I'm actually completely overwhelmed by how fantastic this set is being. They're doing some really interesting new things, and I can just imagine the playing of these cards is going to be so fun and interesting and refreshing, and new things to do that we haven't done before. Like I've said it before, and I will keep saying it. I'm excited for this thing. For Streets of New Capenna. But the interesting thing here to me is that you're making a wizard. It is a rogue. It really looks like it's meant to be going in some sort of in some sort of party deck. So perhaps a little bit of love for the party mechanic. I think a lot of people were disappointed with how rubbish it was, in the set when it was the party set, and perhaps this is their way of trying to address that without it being, in alchemy, where they can rebalance stuff. They'll just have to print some new stuff in future sets. And this really, honestly, I can't think of any other reason why it would be making a wizard and the thing is a rogue and it's in white. So we'll have to keep our eye on this, and also the party deck as the set keeps coming out and being spoiled. Next up, Errante Artista di Strada. Creatura leggendaria. It just sounds weird. Anyway, this is a good one. This is an interesting card. This is gonna be, and again, another just weird, cool new thing to do. It's a 1 mana with flash, human rogue, defender haste. The reason why they give it a haste is because they want you to be able to tap it when it comes in, so you can flash this in for 1 mana, pay 1 colorless and 1 blue, tap it, and then you copy target spell you control that wasn't casted. You may choose new targets for the copy. I honestly don't get it. So what? You target a spell that's in your hand? Or do they mean a spell that was cheated in somehow a previous turn that you do have on board, or what? One that you've already, one that's ended up in your yard? I honestly don't understand. Let's see what the comments down here say. If it's a repeatable dual caster mage for any copied spells. Oh, okay. So this alongside. Okay, that's right. Okay, haha. So maybe if you have enough mana for it, stuff with like Galvanic Iteration, you know, it's a copy of a copy, and then you can, ooh, this with Galvanic Iteration. And all the, wow, okay, interesting. Very interesting. I don't entirely see like the full potential yet, but it's definitely worth checking out for sure, and I love the art on this thing. Copy targeted spell you control that wasn't casted. So I guess, yeah, I mean, anything that's whatever, done for free, there's plenty of stuff that does that. You could even, you know, the stuff that you get to cast for free off of your Invoke Calamity, or there's that new enchantment that we got yesterday that's ridiculous. Where was it? This Arcane Bombardment. You know, here you're not paying the mana costs, and you know, you get to cast the copies. Oh no, that wouldn't work. It's still being cast. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure how this thing's supposed to work, but we'll definitely give it a whirl on day one. Next up, we got Luxurious Libation. Target creature gets +X/+X until end of turn. Create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. So this is looking like a Cabaretti card. Misalaki, pretty nice little fight spell. You know, you can definitely tell it's Cabaretti's because it's partying happening in the background, chandeliers, hands in the air, people, you know, drinking down some Halo. Crisp, flavorful, and energizing. Perhaps the most elegant offering of Halo in Park Heights. 5 stars. Consuelo Restaurant Critic. The flavor's so good on these cards as well. I'm so amped. But yeah, like a pretty nice little fight spell. You can just like dump some mana into it, buff your creature like hell. You know, and then it's creating a 1/1 green and white citizen token as it happens. So you'll be triggering all of your alliance mechanic. Was it alliance? The Cabaretti's mechanic. Yeah, alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, something happens. So like even in the case of you have Gala Greeters in play, and then you use this fight spell that we just saw on your Gala Greeters, that little 1/1 citizen will enter the battlefield, so then you get to put a +1/+1 counter on Gala Greeters. I can see some crazy stuff going on with this. I mean, the alliance mechanic is looking really, really strong in my opinion, and so this is just a fantastic fight spell in that deck, and I cannot wait to give it a whirl. Then we've got Unlucky Witness. 1 red mana, human citizen. Maybe a nice little 1-drop for your you know, sack decks, because it has a die trigger. When it dies, you exile the top 2 cards of your library until the end of your... there we go. See, now this is one I can get behind. This is good, because we need to be sacrificing stuff to our casualty mechanic, you know, and so, you know, you play this on turn 1, it just sits there. It doesn't really matter if it's just a 1/1. I like how he's just about to get stabbed. But then you can sacrifice it to casualty, and you get a little bit of card advantage, and you don't have to cast those spells this turn. It allows you to wait until your next end step. Unfortunately, it's only one of the 2 that you can cast, but that's okay. That's really okay. This is a good card in my opinion. Definitely going to see some play. Next up, we got some Españolo, Luchadores de la Sala de Baile. So what? Dance Hall Fighters. Let me see if I got it right. Dance Hall Fighters, yeah. That's how I would translate that. I mean, my Spanish isn't amazing, but it's so similar to Italian. Luchadores is fighters. La Sala de Baile, I think is... Yeah, there we go. Ballroom Fighters. Nailed it. 3 colorless, 2 white for a creature human warrior. 3/5. Whenever it attacks, Ballroom Fighters and up to 1 other target creature you control both gain your choice of lifelink or first strike until end of turn. Hey, that's not bad. That's really not a bad text box, but the cost is perhaps a little bit prohibitive. I would definitely consider, you know, think this will end up seeing some play. Ooh, hello, Billy. Billy. Looks like a good card, but yeah. Hey, man. Did you read my mind? Epic. Yeah, a little bit expensive, but a good effect. Next up, we got Graveyard Shift. Another pretty expensive sorcery here. 4 colorless 1 black. The spell has flash as long as there are 5 or more mana values among cards in your graveyard. Okay. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay, we were looking for the next, reanimator spell. I was hoping it would be 4 mana, not 5. But yeah, in the deck that wants to be playing this, there'll definitely be. If you look at it, I mean, I don't remember the exact cards now. I don't want to spend too much time like scrolling up and down. I know that's pretty disorienting for you guys, but the deck that wants to be doing this is putting things in the graveyard all the time. Even the Maestro's Charm, like one of the options is like, look at the top 5 cards of your library, put 1 into your hand, the rest into your graveyard. So I think it's going to be quite easy to be putting 5 different mana values into your graveyard. And then that means that the sorcery speed spell now gains instant speed ability. And then you can, use it during the opponent's end step, flash it in, return a target creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield. And you'll probably want to be doing Lord Xander with that. So, we'll have to keep our eye on this one. And, I got what I wanted. It's not, it's a little bit expensive, but it's better than, I think, that one that is being used right now with the Foretell that has to do with elves and stuff, something rest, which is not, I don't know, I'm a stickler for this type of stuff. I don't like to use spells that, I mean, it's still, Return Upon the Tide is the card I'm looking for. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. If it's an elf, create a green elf warrior creature token. Like, if you don't have elves in your deck, then why would you be playing that? But, that's just because I'm maybe got some OCD. But Graveyard Shift. Nice. Up and at 'em, buddy. We've got more work to do. Again with the flavor text. On point. And we've arrived at the final card of the day. Let's give the website a quick little refresh. See if there's anything new. Ooh, 2 new ones. By the looks, oh, fantastic. That makes me happy. Okay, so Evolving Door. Some have been saying it's probably the best card spoiled yet. I saw that on a few people's Twitter posts. It's a 2 colorless and 1 green artifact. You pay 1 colorless, tap it, sacrifice a creature. Count the colors of the sacrificed creature. Then, search your library for a creature card that's exactly that many colors plus 1. Exile that card, then shuffle. You may cast the exiled card. Activate only as a sorcery. I don't know why you would think that that's that good. I believe it was my dear friend, Mr. Power Dragon, that posted that. Maybe he was being... Oop, Quan Watson. By the way, if you guys don't know who Power Dragon is, freaking legend. He's just recently broken 2 million views. Go give him a follow. Tell him Lone Fox from the BrewLab sent you. But yeah, best card so far? Meh. I don't know. I don't think it's that good, but let's see. Maybe I'm completely wrong about that. It does seem like it's enough, it's cheap enough so that then the thing that you get, you can actually cast, but it would need to be played in at least a 3, so that the thing you're sacrificing is an at least 3 color card. And there's plenty of those that have been spoiled, like this guy, for example. Then you would be able to get, so it's 3 plus 1. That many colors. So maybe a 4 mana creature. So you'd need 5 total to then cast it as well. It's not like getting into the graveyard, into the battlefield for free or anything like that. You still have to cast the damn thing. So I don't know, but probably if you build around it, that could end up being a pretty strong effect. Next up, we got Witness Protection. This one is kind of like Frogify, I guess. You just enchant a creature and it loses all its abilities. It becomes a green and white citizen creature with base power and toughness 1/1 named Legitimate Business Person. Yeah, cool. Slap this on like a huge threat and then suddenly it just becomes a 1/1. You can easily get rid of it or block it and whatever. It would be cool if it had flash. Definitely the type of stuff that Blue is into, trying to survive while they get to their like freaking Hullbreaker Horror or whatever. So this might actually end up seeing a little bit of play, but it's probably mostly some draft chaff, as I like to call it. And alright, we've arrived at the final card of the day. Fortunately, there's not too many of them. I'm extremely tired. I need to get to bed. I'm going to have my beauty sleep. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up a little later. My wife is looking after my son all day. I'm going to be freaking playtesting my deck for the DGen Open all day. And then 7 p.m. Eastern African time. So I love it when tournament websites like give you the time where you are at, so that you don't have to like do all that like mental arithmetic. It's okay, Pacific Standard Time, but I'm in Kenya. How many hours ahead are we? When do I need to be awake? Like, boom, this tells me exactly. So tomorrow 7 p.m. So I'm gonna also try and get a nice nap in the afternoon. I've bought a 6-pack of Red Bulls. I've been told that I'm not allowed to stream it, so you know, I know that you guys all voted in the poll, and there's going to be, you know, a lot of you are interested in seeing my matches. So instead of streaming it, which anyway would probably not have been amazing because of the quality of my internet here in Kenya, I'll just record it. And, you know, if I do well, I'll edit it into a nice little video and then upload it afterwards. So don't you worry. But let's get back to the final spoiler. Evolving Door. Oh, sorry. Rafine's Guidance. 1 mana enchantment aura. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1. And you can cast it from your graveyard by paying 2 colorless and 1 white instead of paying its mana cost. I think that's pretty nice. Nothing amazing, but that's pretty nice. You know, usually these auras end up in the graveyard and then ciao ciao. In this case, you can reuse it a little bit later in the game. It's not a huge extra cost. Okay. Pioneer auras. Alright, so that's going to be it for today's episode of Spoiler Talk. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you on Monday for some fresh brews. And until then, this is Lone Fox from the BrewLab, signing out. Peace, y'all.